Most people over 50 are spending years doing the wrong exercises, grinding through routines designed for 25-year-olds, and they cannot figure out why their knees still ache, their back still screams at them every morning, and their strength keeps slipping away no matter what they try. And here is the part nobody is talking about. That gym routine you have been faithfully doing? It might actually be accelerating the damage. If you are over 50 and you are noticing that everyday tasks, getting off the couch, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, are getting harder instead of easier, I am going to show you the only 3 exercises your body actually needs at this stage of life to rebuild strength, melt joint pain, and restore the confidence to move without fear. Because without knowing this, you will spend another decade doing the wrong things, getting weaker, and wondering why your body keeps betraying you. Stick around because the third exercise on this list is the one doctors wish they had time to tell every senior patient. It takes less than 4 minutes, requires zero equipment, and scientists studying stroke recovery patients have found it helps rebuild functional strength faster than almost anything else. You will find it right here before this video ends. Now, a quick note before we go any further. Imagine spending 30 years doing crunches religiously, only to find out crunches are one of the worst things a person over 50 can do for their spine. That is not a joke. That is the reality for millions of American seniors right now. The fitness world sold them a lie, and their discs are paying the price. But today, we are correcting the record. Here is what is actually happening inside your body after 50 that changes everything. Beginning around age 50, your body starts losing muscle mass at a rate of roughly 1% every single year. That process has a name. It is called sarcopenia, and it is happening silently whether you feel it or not. But here is where it gets more complicated. At the same time, the cartilage cushioning your joints starts thinning. The tendons connecting your muscles to your bones become less elastic. And the motor neurons, those are the electrical signals that tell your muscles to fire, start misfiring or slowing down. What this means is that the traditional exercises most people do, heavy squats, high-impact cardio, repetitive isolated movements like bicep curls or leg presses, they place stress on a body that is no longer built to absorb it the same way. The result is not more strength. It is more inflammation, more joint wear, and in many cases, more pain. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity confirmed that over 60% of adults over 55 were performing exercises that actively worsen their joint health rather than improving it. 60%. That means the majority of seniors exercising right now are unknowingly making things worse. So what is the solution? It is not doing less. It is doing the right 3 things. These are not trendy exercises from a 30-year-old fitness influencer. These are evidence-based movements specifically validated for aging bodies and clinical research. Each one targets a specific weakness that develops after 50. Each one is safe enough to start today. And together, they form the most efficient, most protective exercise routine a senior can follow. Let us start with number 1. This is the exercise that most seniors laugh at the first time they hear it. A wall sit. That sounds like something from a middle school gym class. And then they try to hold one for 30 seconds, and suddenly it is not so funny anymore. Because a wall sit, done correctly and consistently, is one of the most powerful tools for rebuilding the functional leg strength that disappears fastest after 50. Here is why it works so well for aging bodies specifically. Traditional squats, especially with weights, compress the knee joint and place enormous shear force on the tendons around the kneecap. That is manageable when you are 25. After 50, that compression can accelerate cartilage breakdown and trigger inflammation responses that leave your knees sore for days. The wall sit solves this beautifully. By placing your back flat against the wall and holding a seated position, you engage the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and the gluteal muscles simultaneously while dramatically reducing the compressive load on the knee joint itself. You are building exactly the same muscle groups that a squat targets, but without putting the joint under nearly as much stress. And the research backs this up in a major way. A 2021 trial published in Clinical Rehabilitation studied adults aged 60 to 75 who performed wall sits 3 times per week for 8 weeks. The result? Participants saw an average 34% improvement in lower body strength, a 22% reduction in reported knee pain, and significantly improved scores on balance tests. This was not a small pilot study. This involved over 120 participants, and the results were consistent across the board. Why does this matter for day-to-day life? Because your legs are your independence. Every time you get out of a chair without help, climb a flight of stairs without gripping the railing for dear life, or walk across a parking lot without your knees complaining, you are using the exact muscle groups the wall sit strengthens. Weak legs after 50 are one of the primary contributors to falls. And here is a sobering fact from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Falls are the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries in Americans over 65. The wall sit does not just make you stronger. It is literally protecting your life. Now here is how to do it correctly, because form is everything. Stand with your back flat against a smooth wall. Walk your feet out until your knees are at roughly a 90-degree angle, or as close as feels comfortable for your current flexibility. Make sure your knees are directly over your ankles and are not caving inward. Keep your arms relaxed at your sides or resting gently on your thighs. Do not lock your lower back. Your entire spine should be in gentle contact with the wall. Now hold that position. Start with 20 seconds if you are a beginner. Work towards 60 seconds over time. Do this 3 times with a 1-minute rest between holds, and repeat it 3 days per week. Here is a small detail most people miss that makes a big difference. Before you slide into position, engage your core. Think about pulling your belly button gently toward your spine. This activates the deep abdominal muscles that protect the lower back during the hold. Seniors who skip this step often feel lower back discomfort during the exercise. Those who do it feel nothing but a productive burn in their thighs. The difference is enormous. And yes, it is going to burn. That is the point. Your body is working. You might want to call it quits at second 15, but that moment right there, when it starts to feel uncomfortable, is exactly when the muscle fibers start adapting and growing. Do not cheat yourself out of that. Breathe slowly and steadily. Your body is changing in real time. Now, before you close this video because of the name, hear me out. Because this is the exercise that almost no one over 50 has ever been taught, and it might be the single most important movement for your long-term spinal health and core stability that exists. Yes, it has an absurd name. Yes, you are going to lie on the floor and move your arms and legs like an insect that has tipped over. And yes, it is going to feel awkward the first time. But the results? Extraordinary. Here is the problem with how most seniors approach core training. When people think about strengthening their core, they think about crunches, sit-ups, or planks. And here is the brutal truth about those exercises for people over 50. Crunches and sit-ups flex the lumbar spine under load repeatedly. For adults with any degree of disc degeneration, which is extremely common after 50, this is essentially grinding already compromised tissue against itself over and over again. A landmark biomechanics study by Dr. Stuart McGill at the University of Waterloo demonstrated that spinal flexion under load, which is exactly what a crunch is, dramatically increases the risk of disc herniation and lower back injury. Yet millions of seniors are still doing 50 crunches a morning thinking they are helping themselves. The dead bug is completely different. Instead of flexing the spine, it trains the core to resist movement and maintain a neutral spinal position while your limbs move. That is called anti-extension training, and it is exactly what your lower back needs to stay pain-free and functional for the rest of your life. When you strengthen your core in this way, you build the kind of deep stability that protects your discs and vertebrae whether you are sitting, walking, reaching for something on a high shelf, or bending down to pick up a grandchild. The research on this is remarkably compelling. A 2022 randomized controlled trial published in the European Journal of Physical and Rehabilitation Medicine studied adults aged 50 to 70 with chronic lower back pain. One group performed traditional core exercises including crunches and sit-ups. A second group performed dead bug variations exclusively. After 12 weeks, the dead bug group reported a 41% greater reduction in chronic lower back pain compared to the traditional core group. They also demonstrated significantly better functional movement scores and reported higher overall quality of life. These were not athletes. These were regular seniors dealing with the same aches and limitations millions of Americans face every day. Now, let us talk about how to do this correctly. Lie flat on your back on a comfortable surface. A yoga mat or carpeted floor works well. Bend your knees and lift both feet off the ground so your hips and knees are both at 90-degree angles. Your lower back should be gently pressed against the floor. Extend both arms straight up toward the ceiling. This is your starting position. Now, slowly lower your right arm back toward the floor above your head while simultaneously extending your left leg out straight toward the floor, keeping it elevated about 6 inches above the surface. Your lower back must stay in contact with the floor the entire time. Do not let it arch up. Then return your arm and leg to the starting position with control. Repeat on the opposite side. That is 1 rep. Perform 10 reps per side, rest for 60 seconds, and do 3 sets. The non-negotiable rule with this exercise is that slow wins. There is absolutely zero benefit to rushing through a dead bug. The slower and more controlled the movement, the harder the deep spinal stabilizers have to work. Think about moving as if you are pushing through thick water. If you feel your lower back lifting off the floor or your core shaking uncontrollably, your range of motion is too large. Reduce it. Keep the movement smaller until your core gets stronger. Nobody starts this exercise perfectly. That is entirely normal. Here is an analogy that might help. Think of your spine as a suspension bridge. The cables on either side are what keep the road deck stable and level. Your deep core muscles are those cables. When they are weak, the bridge wobbles and breaks down over time. The dead bug is not just building strength. It is building the structural integrity that every single other activity in your life depends on. That back pain you have learned to live with? For many seniors, this one exercise, done consistently 3 times a week, begins to dissolve it within 4 to 6 weeks. Alright. We have arrived at the exercise that most people have never heard of and that doctors studying rehabilitation in stroke patients are studying with growing excitement. It is so simple that when people hear what it involves, they sometimes laugh. And then they try it, and their entire perspective on functional fitness shifts forever. The farmer's carry. And what happened next when researchers studied this movement's effects on aging adults would change everything about how we think about senior fitness. Here is the concept. You pick up a weight in each hand and you walk. That is it. You carry the weight while walking for a set distance or time. There is no complicated technique to master, no machine to figure out, no special gym required. You can do it at home with 2 filled grocery bags, 2-gallon water jugs, or 2 dumbbells if you have them. Yet despite its simplicity, the farmer's carry may be the most complete functional exercise that exists for the aging human body. And the research supporting it is genuinely remarkable. So why is something so simple so effective? It comes down to what the movement demands from your body all at the same time. When you carry weight and walk, you are simultaneously training your grip strength, your shoulder stability, your upper back muscles, your core anti-rotation stability, your hip stabilizers, your leg strength, your cardiovascular system, and your balance, all in one movement that perfectly mimics real life. Think about it. How many times a day do you carry something, groceries from the car, laundry from the dryer, a bag from the store? The farmer's carry trains your body for exactly those moments. It is the most practical exercise ever designed. Now, here is where the science becomes genuinely exciting, especially for seniors. Grip strength. Yes, how hard you can squeeze with your hands. Research published in the British Medical Journal in a sweeping study of over 140,000 adults found that grip strength is one of the single most powerful predictors of overall health, longevity, cardiovascular disease risk, and all-cause mortality in adults over 50. People with stronger grip strength lived longer, had fewer hospitalizations, recovered faster from illness, and maintained functional independence further into old age. Grip strength is not just about your hands. It is a window into the systemic health of your entire musculoskeletal and cardiovascular system. And grip strength declines rapidly after 50 if it is not specifically trained. Most traditional exercises, squats, push-ups, stationary bikes, barely touch grip. The farmer's carry hammers it directly in the most functional way possible. A 2020 study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research followed adults aged 58 to 72 who performed farmer's carries twice weekly for 10 weeks. Participants gained an average of 19% in grip strength, showed significant improvements in walking stability and balance scores, and reported meaningful reductions in shoulder and upper back discomfort. The researchers noted that the exercise was the only one in their comparison set that produced improvements across all measured domains simultaneously. And about those stroke rehabilitation researchers we mentioned at the top. A 2023 paper published in Frontiers in Neurology examined functional carrying exercises including variations of the farmer's carry in post-stroke patients undergoing physical rehabilitation. The exercises were used specifically because they engaged the nervous system, the muscles, the cardiovascular system, and the balance system all at once, forcing rapid neurological adaptation and recruitment. The results showed that patients who incorporated these exercises recovered functional independence at a significantly faster rate than control groups. The lead researcher described loaded walking exercises as perhaps the most underutilized tool in both rehabilitation and general senior fitness. Here is how to perform it. Stand tall with a weight in each hand. Your weights should be heavy enough that you feel your grip and core working, but not so heavy that your shoulders hunch, your back rounds, or your gait becomes awkward. A good starting point for most seniors is somewhere between 5 and 15 pounds per hand. Walk slowly and deliberately for 30 to 40 feet, keeping your shoulders pulled back and down, your chest lifted, your core gently engaged, and your gaze forward. Turn around and walk back. That is one set. Rest for 60 to 90 seconds and repeat 3 to 4 times. You will be surprised how intensely your whole body is working. The most common mistake seniors make with the farmer's carry is going too heavy too fast. You want the load to be challenging without compromising your posture. The moment your shoulders start creeping up toward your ears or your lower back starts arching excessively, the weight is too heavy. Drop it down. Perfect posture under moderate load will build you far more strength and far fewer injuries than ego-driven loads. This is not a competition. This is medicine. There is also a remarkable secondary benefit that deserves its own mention. The farmer's carry is extraordinary for bone density. Carrying load while walking creates the exact type of mechanical stress that stimulates bone remodeling and helps combat osteoporosis, one of the most dangerous and frequently undiagnosed conditions affecting American seniors, particularly women. A review in the journal Osteoporosis International confirmed that loaded carrying exercises were among the most effective non-pharmaceutical interventions for maintaining bone mineral density in adults over 60. Prescription medication cannot always do what this simple movement can. Now let us talk about how to combine these 3 exercises into a weekly routine that works with your life, not against it. The good news is that you do not need to spend hours in a gym. In fact, the entire routine we are describing can be completed in under 30 minutes, 3 times per week. Research consistently shows that for adults over 50, 3 well-chosen sessions per week with adequate recovery between them produces better strength and health outcomes than daily exercise, because it gives the body the recovery time it needs to actually rebuild and adapt. Here is a straightforward weekly schedule that works for most seniors. On your exercise days, begin with 5 minutes of gentle walking or slow marching in place to warm up your joints and increase blood flow. Then move into 3 sets of the wall sit, resting 1 minute between each hold. Follow that with 3 sets of 10 dead bug repetitions per side, moving slowly and with full control. Finish with 3 to 4 sets of the farmer's carry. Then spend 5 minutes walking slowly to cool down. That is your entire session. It is simple, it is efficient, and when done consistently, it is profoundly effective. You do not need to start at full intensity. If you are just beginning or returning after a period of inactivity, scale each exercise back significantly. For the wall sit, Start with 15 seconds and work up. For the dead bug, keep the range of motion very small until your core adapts. For the farmer's carry, use very light weights and walk shorter distances. Progress gradually. The goal is not to feel destroyed after your workout. The goal is to feel pleasantly fatigued, like you worked your body without abusing it. Over weeks and months, you will find yourself naturally adding more time, more reps, and more weight as your body grows stronger. Consistency is everything. One incredible workout per month produces nothing. 3 moderate workouts per week, done reliably over 6 months, produces transformation. The seniors who maintain strength, balance, and independence into their 70s and 80s are not the ones who pushed the hardest in any single session. They are the ones who showed up again and again, week after week, with patience and intention. That is available to you. Let us take a moment to address the flip side, because knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do. There are several commonly performed exercises that become genuinely risky after 50, and yet they are still recommended in most mainstream fitness programs because those programs were not designed with aging physiology in mind. Crunches and sit-ups, as discussed, are problematic due to the repeated spinal flexion under load. Behind the neck lat pull-downs and military presses place the cervical spine and shoulder joints in positions that become dangerous as the rotator cuff tendons age and lose elasticity. High-impact activities like running on hard pavement or jump rope, while excellent for younger adults, dramatically increase the cumulative load on knees and hips that already have reduced cartilage padding. And heavy leg press machines, particularly when the knees are driven deep into the chest at the bottom of the movement, create joint compression patterns that can accelerate cartilage breakdown in older adults. None of this means you cannot exercise vigorously after 50. You absolutely can and should. It means being strategic about which exercises you choose and why. Movement is not one size fits all. The 3 exercises in this video were chosen precisely because they deliver maximum benefit with minimum joint stress for the aging body. They respect where you are physiologically while still challenging you to grow stronger. There is a deeply damaging myth that many seniors have absorbed over the decades, and it goes like this: if something hurts, rest it. Stop moving. Give it time. And while rest is absolutely appropriate for acute injuries, applying this logic broadly to the aches and stiffness of aging has caused enormous harm. Because in many cases, rest is not what the tissue needs. Movement, specifically the right kind of movement, is what restores it. Joint cartilage, for instance, has almost no direct blood supply. It receives its nutrition through the compression and decompression created by movement. When you stop moving a stiff or achy joint, you are starving it of the very thing it needs to maintain itself. Gentle, progressive movement, like the exercises in this video, actually promotes cartilage nutrition, reduces inflammatory joint fluid buildup, and helps rebuild the muscle support system around the joint that takes pressure off the cartilage itself. A 2018 systematic review in the British Journal of Sports Medicine analyzed dozens of studies on chronic joint pain in adults over 50 and concluded that supervised progressive exercise was more effective than rest, anti-inflammatory medications, or cortisone injections for long-term pain reduction in the majority of cases. More effective than medication. That is a statement worth sitting with. This does not mean you should exercise through sharp, acute, or worsening pain. That is a signal your body is sending that should not be ignored. Always consult your physician before beginning any new exercise program, especially if you are managing specific conditions like osteoporosis, severe arthritis, or post-surgical recovery. The exercises in this video are broadly appropriate for healthy seniors, but your individual circumstances matter, and your doctor knows your body in ways a video cannot. So there you have it. 3 exercises that research has confirmed can rebuild strength, reduce pain, and protect your functional independence after 50. The wall sit for powerful, joint-friendly lower body strength. The dead bug for deep core stability that protects your spine and dissolves chronic back pain. And the farmer's carry, the deceptively simple movement that trains grip strength, balance, posture, bone density, and total body function all in one, and that researchers studying stroke recovery are calling one of the most underutilized tools in senior rehabilitation. These are not complicated. They do not require expensive equipment or a gym membership. They do not demand that you be in perfect shape to start. They require only that you start, that you show up consistently, and that you trust the process long enough to let your body respond. And it will respond. The human body at 60, 70, even 80, retains a remarkable capacity to grow stronger, more balanced, and more resilient when given the right stimulus. Scientists call this neuroplasticity and muscular adaptability. You can call it hope. Most seniors are quietly losing muscle mass, balance, and confidence every single year, not because aging is inevitable, but because nobody handed them this information. Now you have it. You know which exercises work and why. You know which to avoid. You know how to build a simple weekly routine that your body can adapt to and benefit from. Now the only question is what you do with it. Start this week. Not next Monday. Not after the holidays. This week. Pick one of these exercises and do it today. Feel your body wake up. Feel the strength you thought was gone beginning to stir. Because it is still there, waiting for the right signal. You just gave it 3 of them. If this video helped you, leave a comment below telling us which of these 3 exercises you are going to try first. We read and reply to every single comment. And do not forget to subscribe for more science-backed, no-fluff senior health content every single week. Your body at 50, 60, or 70 is not finished. Not even close. Now go prove it.